of the most prominent features inside of our bear is of course going to be the nose. It's pretty big, it's very noticeable from a distance. So let's spend some time figuring out how this structure is going to work, because there's some important anatomical functions of our nose that we need to make sure is included in the actual geometry itself. So here's my nose. And notice that I'm trying to get this established pretty early on in the process. Because there's going to be some cavities, the nostrils, we need to really kind of figure out how this is going to be interpreted and influence the surrounding areas of our mesh itself. The first thing that I think I'm going to do is create a mask. I'm going to mask out the area that I want to be the nose, and I'm going to use that mask to make it a little bit bigger. Let me show you what I'm talking about. It's pretty neat. Let's go and fire off our masking tool. Here it is. And I like using the masking tools in this moment. Let me turn on all of this so we can see the mask. There we go. And I'm also going to go into my viewport properties and turn off my geometry. Let's clear the mask. There we go. Okay, so let's figure out where my nose is going to go. The masking tools are really great because they allow us to visualize on the geometry where all of this information is going to be placed. And we can take a step back and look at proportion and size and go, yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm digging it. That's a good starting point for the mask itself. Okay, I want to make this bottom area a little bit sharper. In addition, the fall off between the interior of the mask and the outside of the mask is a little too soft. I want to crisp it up a little bit. If we go into the mask pull down menu, what we're looking for is sharpen mask. And I may do this a couple times just to make that transition a little bit sharper. Yeah, digging it. Now I want to use this mask to grow this area just by a little bit. Let's invert it. Whatever black is not going to be influenced by our sculpting tools. So now we can go into, oh, I don't know, let's do like the layer brush. Now I like the layer brush because it just is gonna kind of push everything outwards. Okay, that's not at all what I want, but I think you see the idea. The layer brush is, imagine it's going to have almost a linear influence on all of our polygons. It's just going to push them out externally. Now the strength is at 1, which is why I'm getting this really weird, wacky result. And I think I'm just going to go in and just make this slightly bigger. Lost some volume and some shape here. Yeah. Now what I'm trying to capture is something that looks like this. See how it slopes down and then bumps up a little bit? Let's see if I'm getting that on this side. Yeah, I think I am. Let's clear the mask and see the result. Yeah, not bad. It's a good start. Remember, this is a start, not the end. Now, I think what I'm going to do is that I'm going to go in and use good old, let's do good old crease tool. And start to crease out. Brush is way too big. I got excited about creasing it, and I don't have my Dyntopo system really working the way I want. There we go. All right, there we go. Let's turn our wireframes on just to do a good double check. Make sure that we've added some geometry in there. Yep, happy with that. Now I'm going to turn Dyntopo off, return to the pinch tool, and start pinching this stuff together. Like I said, the pinch tool does a great job of coming in and making some nice lines for us. Let's smooth it out while we go as well. We want to be respectful of these plane changes, but we also want to be controlling of them as well. And the pinch tool allows us to continue to control it. Let's go back into the knife brush here. Just kind of push this in a little bit more. I don't think I got the shape I was aiming to get initially. Yeah, there we go. That's not so bad. That's starting to feel like the outside of a nose. Wonderful. Back to the pinch tool real fast. Let's just pinch this up a little bit. I want to sharpen up the transition down here at the bottom. Now the nose is going to be kind of a defined feature, right? We want it to be its own thing. And the end result is going to have its own texture as well. So it's okay that we have these separation lines in there. Let's look at it from a distance. Yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there. I think once we start to define some additional conical shapes for the nostrils, it's going to feel a little bit more correct. Okay, now that we got the basic outlining structure for the nose, I'm smoothing it, by the way. I apologize. I got excited about the next stage. Now that we have the basic overall structure of the nose established, its general location on the mesh, let's start figuring out where we want those nostrils to go. So we're kind of taking a step into detail now. We've gone from the macro view by designing and defining the outside of the nose, and now we're going one step in on the detail. We're trying to figure out where the nostrils are going to go. So that's the next big thing. And as one might imagine, we're going to do the exact same thing that we did for the outside. We're going to use our masking system. And I think I'm going to start, let's explore here. Let's look at it. Is that about right? Yeah, that's a good place to begin. Let's invert the mask. And I'm just going to initially start with Sculpt Draw, and I'm just going to press in. I'm holding down the Control key. Let's increase the strength. Holding down the Control key. Let's see if I can get, I think my mask is a little bit too, I'm going to sharpen my mask a lot. Let's see. Yeah, I think my mask is generally kind of getting in the way. It's been smoothed and sharpened so much that it's influencing the entire area of my mesh, which is fine because I'm going to clear it out. I have a good indication of where my start and stops are going to be. And now I'm just going to turn on Dyntopo, go into my Sculpt Draw tool, and now check it out. Yeah, here we go. Here we go. Now we're getting in there. Now remember with Sculpt Draw, okay, it's going to push and pull based on the screen angle. So if you look like, if I'm looking at my nose like this, if I hold down the Control key, it's going to push towards kind of the inside of the head, the center of the head, like that. You see how it's pushing towards the center? It's not pushing in towards like the brain, if you will. So if I wanted to push backwards, I'm just going to put my view in a slightly different position, and I'm going to push backwards. Now, believe it or not, you need to make these nostrils pretty deep. You don't need to go all the way up into the orbit of the eye, but you are going to see a conclusion of it, and we want to make a natural pooling of shadows in here in the render itself. So these suckers are going to have to be kind of deep, something like that. That's pretty good. Hold down the Shift key, smooth it out, and here's the cool thing about nostrils. Is that they can be kind of lumpy like this. It's the inside of a nose. What's to say that a bear's inside of a nose is perfectly smooth and lumpless, right? All right, let's look at it from macro view. Yep, I'm liking it. It's starting to look pretty cool. That's a good detail. But now we need to go in and start messing with the outsides, because the outsides are really going to define that almost conical cone shape for the nostrils themselves. Let's do it real fast. So I'm still on my Sculpt Draw tool. I've got Dyntopo on. Let's just give it a little bit of mass on the outside. Increase the size of my brush. And smooth out that transition between the front and the back. We don't want it to be lumpy. Yeah. See how there's a plane break? I'm hoping you guys can see that. There's a plane break. As it comes down, it hits a sharp kind of upward slope and then goes into the nostril. Let's pinch it a little bit, and I'm going to just kind of accentuate that pinch, or excuse me, that plane break with the pinch. I'm going to take it a little bit further than I probably would, just to make sure that you guys can see it. Yeah, now it's starting to look and feel like a three-dimensional shape, right? It's starting to feel like there's an additional series of curves at the tip of the nostril that's influencing its form, and I like that. I think that's cool. This is what the Dyntopo engine is all about. It allows us to very quickly kind of feather in some details, and establish some planes. Just make sure you're modulating your strength. I think for me, that's the part that I always find myself going back to. Just making sure that the strength isn't so high that I'm having to go in and make big sweeping changes after the fact. I'm going to change my nose shape ever so slightly here. Yeah, make it a little bit more of a point. If you think about it, these noses are going to be kind of like it's, you know, in my imagination, the bear is sticking his nose into like berry bushes or under rocks and trees and stuff. And this point is really going to direct that smell in action. Trying to get myself into the mindset of the object that I'm sculpting. How does a bear use its nose? It's an interesting question, isn't it? And smooth out some of the forms I just created. Oops, forgot to hold down the shift key and destroyed something. That's okay. Now what I'm looking at here is a way to kind of terminate some of these shapes into the bottom of the nose itself. Nature doesn't do this, where it just makes a perfect circle, okay? It really doesn't do that very often, and you don't see, it looks kind of like a pig at the moment. However, if we took this line and kept it going straight down a little bit, in here, see how it kind of makes it a little bit more, feather it out by smoothing it? Kind of gives it its own shape. And it terminates that plane a little bit more smoothly. Yeah, I could do this all day, by the way. This is the fun part about 3D modeling, is that we get to sit here and give something life, give something character, giving something a nose. Believe it or not, makes it turn into this wonderful shape that's now becoming a little bit more believable, a little bit more real, and something that is demanding my attention.